Well, good morning. The time being 9 a.m, I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for Tuesday the 7th of July 2026. First item on the agenda is apologies. We have no apologies. All councillors are present. So we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is messages of condolence, and I'll hand over to Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'd like to offer a message of condolence to the Hartley family. Graham Hartley is well known throughout this area. You would have known him as the insurance guy. He had Hartley Insurance Brokers there for a long period of time, then joined up with the Elders Group, which is still operating today. Graham had several nicknames. To his friends, he was Hearts. To his mates, he was Dad. But he's better known for the nickname Cyclone. Everything Graham did was at pace, epic, and he was a legend right throughout. His fishing and boating exploits are epic and memorable if you've ever been out with him. But what Graham will be remembered for mainly is his work through Rotary. Graham was a member of the South Gladstone Rotary Club, which is the same club I'm in. Graham joined in 1989, and in his time in Rotary he sat in just about every position throughout, as including President, Secretary. He also headed a group study exchange to Sweden, where he was in charge of all that, and he also was involved in a humanitarian program over in the Solomon Islands, which I joined in with. Graham was very well known throughout the Rotary Group. His services were recognised with a Paul Harris Fellowship, and I think it was in 1997. And again, I think it was in 2013, where he was awarded a Sapphire Paul Harris Fellow for his outstanding work through Rotary and the community. He was a very generous man with his time, and also a very generous man with his money. He supported all sporting clubs, and he was a very, very special friend to me. Graham's funeral was yesterday and was very, very well attended, and we send these messages out to Carol in particular, his wife, stoic woman, absolutely fantastic, and son Ian and daughter Leanne, and he will be very warmly remembered throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Are there any other messages of condolence? No other messages of condolence. We'll move to prior notifications of conflicts of interest. I have, well, obviously, firstly, before I read out my conflicts of interest, for those watching online and in the gallery this morning, the Queensland Government has changed the legislation again. So there is no such thing as a prescribed and declarable conflict of interest anymore as of the 1st of July. They go back to where they were conflicts of interest and material interests. And so under the new legislation, which we're still waiting to see guidelines effectively from, I've taken advice from both Tanya and King & Company on the issue of G8.1, which is a property acquisition. I have a perceived conflict of interest in relation to agenda item G8.1, potential property acquisition, as I own residential property adjacent to the subject land. I'll deal with my conflict in a transparent and accountable way by considering the issues on their own merit and make the decision in the public interest. In relation to item G4.5, annual insurance renewals, as I'm the President of the Local Government Association of Queensland, who is trustee for the Local Government Mutual Scheme, I believe I have a material personal interest, and I will leave the room for that agenda item and hand over to the Deputy Mayor. Under the new legislation, is there any interest councillors would like to declare? No further conflicts of interest. We'll move to the Mayor's statement, which is for the last couple of weeks, we of course had the Mount Larkham show on the 20th to the 21st of June. 86 years of Mount Larkham show celebrated their fantastic agriculture show in the north part of the Gladstone region. Thank you, Councillor Wagner, for attending and speaking at that event. We had the industry breakfast beyond the farm gate on Monday the 29th of June at the Naguran Hall. Thank you, Councillor McClintock and Councillor Muscat, for attending that event as well, and I know that Councillor McClintock was heavily involved in bringing that event to fruition. The focus of the event was on real projects, real partnerships and real income pathways, showcasing how primary producers can focus on diversifying revenue, future-proofing their operations, playing a central role in the region's economic diversification and playing a central role in the region's economic transition. Upcoming in the Gladstone region, of course, well, already started, is NAIDOC Week. It's from the 5th to the 12th of July, and it's celebrating 50 years of Deadly. We had the flag-raising ceremony yesterday, which was attended by many, and including the defence personnel that are visiting Gladstone at the moment. The NAIDOC theme also is to keep the fire burning black, loud and proud, and emphasises that raising the flags is a powerful symbol of that fire continuing to burn. And there's plenty of events happening throughout NAIDOC Week this week. I encourage you to jump on Council's website to find out more about those. And then speaking of our Defence Force, exercise Austral Shield is running from the 3rd to the 17th of July, and Gladstone Regional Council is proud to be supporting our Defence Force in this exercise. There will be a Community Day happening on Saturday the 11th of July from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Phillip Street Communities Precinct, and will give the residents an opportunity to meet Australian Defence personnel. There'll be camouflage face painting, metal detector treasure hunts, interactive displays, photo opportunities. Of course, there's a sausage sizzle and live entertainment as well. We are very proud to have the Australian Defence Force working and operating here in the Gladstone region as part of our call for a greater defence presence in Central Queensland, as Central Queensland, we believe, is central defence, in partnership with our neighbours in Rockhampton and of course, Livingstone Shire as well. So I encourage everyone to attend that Community Day on Saturday at the Community Precinct in Phillip Street, but of course give our warm welcome to our defence personnel currently visiting the Gladstone region. And also we have the Gladstone Region Seniors Expo happening on Monday the 13th of July, another free community event for our seniors with local services, support networks and social group and activities happening, delivered by Relationships Australia in partnership with Gladstone Regional Council at the Gladstone Region Neighbourhood Centre, of course, at the Phillip Street Community Precinct again. We have 40 plus store holders, and you can visit our website for more details. And finally, Luminous is happening again this year from the 16th to the 19th of July. And this year we celebrate 30 years of our sister city relationship with Saiki. So many of the activities and light displays are in conjunction with our 30-year celebration. So make sure you get in there and enjoy Luminous at the Tom Doon Botanic Gardens. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is a confirmation of the minutes, G2.1 for the 16th of June. Thank you, Councillor McClintock. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Thank you. We have no deputations this morning, so we'll move into our officers' reports. And our first officers' report, G4.1, the Corporate Plan 2021 to 2026 closeout report. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of People and Strategy, Carly Quinn, and welcome Kim Markson to the table.
Thank you, councillors. Good morning. So today we're presenting the closeout report of our recent Corporate Plan 2021 to 2026. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the work of Kim Markson in collating this information to share with our community, but mostly I'd like to acknowledge the entire workforce over the last 5 years, because this is their achievement and it really shows their commitment to our community. Today, we're not simply reflecting on what Council delivered over the past 5 years, we're also reflecting on what we learned and what we achieved together, and how these achievements have helped shape the future of the Gladstone region. Back in 2021, Council adopted a corporate plan built around a vision of connect, innovate and diversify. Those three words guided our decisions, investments and priorities through a period of significant change and opportunities for our region. We delivered more than 50 strategic initiatives and achieved 30 of the 40 objectives established in the corporate plan, while continuing to provide the essential services our community relies on every day. But we've learnt that completing projects is only part of the story. Success is ultimately measured by what our community experiences as a result. When people ask what we achieved over the last 5 years, I don't think the answer is simply a list of projects. Yes, we delivered important infrastructure, we renewed community assets and we improved our facilities across the region, but the major change was the way we work. We spent more time out in our communities listening and engaging face to face and creating more opportunities for people to have a say in decisions that affect them. We strengthened community involvement in decision making and we worked harder to understand what matters most to different parts of our region. We placed a greater focus on accessibility and inclusion, making our facilities and our services more welcoming and ensuring more people can participate in community life. We improved the way we plan for the future. Instead of simply solving today's challenges, we invested in better asset management, service planning, financial planning and performance reporting so that we can make smarter decisions and provide reliable services for years to come. We started looking more closely at services through the eyes of our customers, asking not just whether a service was delivered, but whether it was easy to access or easy to understand and creating a positive experience. We became a stronger advocate for our region, building partnerships, securing opportunities, and ensuring Gladstone's voice was heard in conversations that shape our future. And we invested in our people, focusing on leadership, safety, wellbeing and culture, because we know that a capable and engaged workforce delivers better outcomes for our community. Those changes aren't always as visible as a new building or a piece of infrastructure, but they influence every decision we make and every service we deliver. And I think that's the real legacy of our corporate plan. The report also has an honest reflection on what we learned. One of the clearest lessons from the planning cycle we've just finished is that we need stronger links between strategy and service delivery, clearer measures of success, and a greater focus on outcomes rather than activities. That learning has directly shaped our new corporate plan that we've just recently launched, our vision. Our vision describes the future we want to help create, a Gladstone region that grows with purpose, a place where people are connected, the environment is respected, and decisions are trusted. The achievements of the last 5 years have laid that foundation for the future, which is why today not just marks the end of a corporate plan, but the beginning of our next chapter. The investments we've made in services, facilities and community connection help create a better every day. The improvements to planning, asset management and sustainability support practical stewardship. And our advocacy and partnerships help drive responsible growth. The work we've done to strengthen governance, accountability and transparency will help build trust and confidence in council decisions. So while today marks the end, it also marks the beginning. Any questions?
Thank you. Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Matt. Surprisingly, I don't have any questions. I'm very happy to move the officer's recommendation, but at the same time, well done, and I'm sure my colleagues will have same comments as well. You identified probably one of the key parts to it is that strategy, strengthening that strategy to service delivery, which is pleasing. But I think also part of it, it acknowledges in this next corporate plan, strengthening that link between strategy and service delivery and connection to our community and service to our residents and ratepayers, and also those people who wish to invest in the area as well. And the other part of it is that in reflection, and some of us were on that journey when we developed the previous one, was the significance of our advocacy documents that come about. And you mentioned that word as well. And I think that that's another key component, but probably best to leave it at that. And I think for anybody who has an interest in what's happened over the past 5 years, there's some very good reading in that. But, you know, happy to move the officer's recommendation there, Matt.
Thank you. Councillor Wagram, is that a question or are you seconding? Question? Question? Yep.
Thanks. Yeah, no, thank you for the report. It's great. You did make a comment, though, about only 30 of the 40 objectives were met. Can you just give us a little bit more
Context about that,
Yeah.
So a corporate plan is such a high-level aspirational document. I'm not sure that we'll ever be finished doing what we want to do. So a lot of the improvements, the ones where we were really honest with ourselves that we said, you know, have we got there yet, are the things that are flowing into this new corporate plan. It's around realising that benefit to the community at the end. So we've done a lot of the foundational work. We're connecting the strategy to the service. How is that improving the experience of the customer in our community? And so you'll see if you connect the two next to each other, a lot of the things that we said to ourselves, we've come a long way, but are we there yet, are in the next plan. The other thing we had to challenge ourselves with some of these aspirations in corporate plans, no matter what they look like, they are aspirational and they should always be there. So having a better experience for our community might be there every single time, but what did we want to achieve over this period of time, and did we get there? So that's sort of how we measured. Are you looking for specifics of what we didn't get?
I think for me, I was wondering, are the objectives actually some of the things we wanted to actually achieve, like an item that we wanted to achieve? Or because for me, an objective could be we would like to have, you know, so much growth or something like that, which is very aspirational and broad. But then you put a figure on it, 30 out of 40. So I'm just wondering whether you've looked at those 10 items, like if they are objectives or whatever they are, and do you think that we've now sort of set up our new corporate plan to, I suppose, allow us to report so we're not saying.
I understand
Do
the
you know what I mean?
question now,
Like,
yes.
So
yes.
I'm just trying to think, what would one of these
Yeah.
objectives be,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity?
So I think there's a couple of answers there. Firstly, to share that one of the things I mentioned in the intro is that we did not set good measures of success against this corporate plan. So when it came to measuring the success, we had to question ourselves, how would we measure this? And a lot of the things were, what would we have wanted to achieve within this period of time? But we didn't have a measure that says community engagement will be X percentage or whatever it might be. So for that reason, it was challenging, and that's why we have taken a very different approach with the next corporate plan. But as an example of some of the things, Kim's got the report here. I just need my glasses to be able to see it. Needs to be even bigger than that. So one of the example of things that we haven't quite finished yet is focus on proactive and preventive approaches in our asset planning. And we did make a lot of progress, and we made a lot of progress in the back end of how we're going to do that. So we moved towards a single point of single source of truth with the asset management. We put frameworks in place. What we've really got to do now is embed it. We have to actually make that connection back to the community. So all of the tools are there, everything is there. We need to make that a muscle that works within council and works effectively before we really would call that achieved. So that's an example of something that's in the next corporate plan to deliver.
So how will we report those in the next one? Because we've obviously met some of that objective that was really important.
Yes.
Do we maybe set our benchmark too high? I'm just curious
No,
how
yeah.
we're going to manage it in the future, not that we get there again and we're reporting, because it can come across negative that we've only achieved 30 out of 40 of our objectives, do you know what I mean? So I'm sure that it's all managed in
No,
the
that's
next
fine,
one. And
So I think one of the capability shifts that the organisation needs to make over the next 5 years that we've identified is a focus on outcomes over outputs. So, we no longer need to talk about 30 of 50 objectives achieved, because what does 30 out of 50 objectives mean? If you can tick a box and deliver items, that does not mean the problem is solved, and it does not mean the experience has changed or whatever the outcome is. So the new corporate plan actually talks more about the outcome, and on the second page of it, it talks about what the community will see and feel that is different. That's what we need to measure on. So it doesn't, we're less focused on whether there's one deliverable or 20 deliverables to achieve this thing, and more focused on, has the experience changed for our community? Would someone in the community say, yes, you made a difference there, rather than us saying, we put a framework in place, we did we've got all the asset management plans in place, we've fulfilled the asset life cycle plan. What do those things mean? Have we actually made a difference? So the new corporate plan really holds us accountable to that.
Because I do like, on one hand, having the report that these things were achieved. Like, it's good to see exactly where we're at. I do like that. But yeah, I was just wondering how you're managing that in the future.
Yeah, sorry, Kim's got some, yes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just to add to that, with how we've set up the next corporate plan and the operational plans that will fall out of it. So we have actually been working in the last couple of weeks since endorsement to put very clear measures against every ambition in the new corporate plan, and they are those X% type of measures. And then when you get the new operational plan brought to you with budget, we've listed all of those initiatives, so what are the pieces we're going to deliver, but what's the outcome that they're going to achieve, and how are we measuring that? So every piece of work that we're doing has one really clear measure against it that moves the dial on the bigger corporate plan measures. So really trying to create that thread moving forward, whereas this, we did that a little bit retrospectively, probably about halfway through.
So with the asset management as an example, you would have itemised, it'll be this.
Yes.
So the steps or the
These
stages
are what we're
of
doing.
it, so you can
These are
show
how they're
achievement.
moving the dial. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And good job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. Some of the questions and the comments from my colleagues also got me thinking, because I was part of the previous plan, and when looking through the report that you have here, so when we talk about all the objectives and whether we, what we said we were going to do and how we did it, and I find the comment interesting in relation to the outcome and the output. So, but again, it's kind of the chicken and the egg as well. So these sort of things are difficult to measure and to show how they provide value. Because it's true, we can do, deliver 20 workshops, but has that improved what we wanted to improve in the first place? So it is a continued exercise. It doesn't just stop and start, and we are supposed to be somehow flexible throughout this to see what it is best that we need to do to achieve those outcomes. But again, outcomes are very hard to measure. So I can see in the report, so the one that talks about the items and whether you're naming they're achieved and not achieved. Some of the ones that are not achieved, they're not, well, they say partial or ongoing, and that is, to me, something that I wouldn't even class it as not achieved. We have a process now that then we continue to review, and it's something that you don't just tick a box and it doesn't happen anymore. It's something that continues to happen. So there's been a lot of work in the asset management space, whether we finalise that or not. That is sort of an ongoing situation. It's one of those loops that just continue and continue. Yes, we might not be going as fast as we want to, but that's just the nature of the business too. I've seen a lot of progress there. There's items around simplifying policies and streamlining certain processes that we have. I've seen them happen. The embedding of the IDF, the investment decision framework, in all the decisions that we make. The business improvement teams, the business continuity plan, the risk maturity stuff, that's something that I find amazing. I think it's a great achievement of the business, and of us as a boardroom. So there's some things that we might have not, I guess, ticked or we didn't know how to achieve them when we set the course. How do we then become more mature in the asset management space? Well, we didn't know what boxes we were going to have to tick at the end, but we made a decision to find those boxes and then tick them after. And I guess just justifying what you just said in relation to we maybe done that halfway through, but that's because we didn't know what we needed to do to achieve what we wanted to achieve. So I think it's great. The only thing I'd just like to also reinforce is, that stuff about the measuring, but maybe we need to be flexible in the way we do it. And how is that we measure outcomes is something that, is the $1 million question. But how we also then connect, the corporate plan with, obviously, the operational plan should be clear, but then how do we move that into all the other things that we do, and how do we bring some of these things into the everyday decisions that we make, and not just us in the boardroom, but also at the staff level, and also when the CEO does her own planning, and the leadership team does their own planning as well. So, and I love to see that more often, so throughout the 5 years, because it just reinforces or just challenges us as to, is this where we were going to go? Or if we're not going that way, maybe we should then accept that and then change and document that, not just, avoid it. And it's that consistency piece that we talked a lot about in the new corporate plan. But thank you. Thank you for the work.
Thank you. And thank you for those comments. I hope our teams and people on the ground are listening to these comments, because you're really showing the value of the work that they've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McClintock, then Councillor Holzheimer.
Probably just to echo a little bit of what Councillor Muscat said. When I was reading through, was around the terminology. It's a little bit of semantics, but achieved versus implemented, and some of them felt like, we've done that now, we're not going to do that again, in some of that language that we use perhaps in this closeout report. And then when I was looking through the ones that were, ongoing, I was like, well, that's kind of, the others are ongoing as well. How have you made that differentiation between the two? But there wasn't any in that list, in the attachment there, when you read through them, that actually we haven't moved the dial on. And I think it's one of the frustrations that we spoke about when we were doing this plan is, okay, but if our goal is just to write a list, then we did that the second we started writing a list. But what does good look like? And it was a lot of that conversation that we've had into this new plan. I'd agree. It needs to be a little bit flexible and do some of those things. But I did wonder in this closeout report whether some of these things left it a little bit feeling like we hadn't achieved some and some we'd ticked off and they're gone. Whereas when you read through that, we've really made progress on every single aspect and really have moved forwards, which is achieving 100%. So, yeah, I was a little bit probably confused in some regards of some of those end results there, looking at some of the amazing work that's been implemented and done from asset management through to strategic stuff. So, no, thank you very much. Really, really good plan. Really liked it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holzheimer?
I feel like Councillor McClintock took a squiz at my notes on my page here because I had written a lot about what does good look like, and I think telling that story so we can measure it against what does good look like for the next plan as well. And when reading the report, all of the questions that I did have were actually in the lessons learnt section. So I think that that's really important. I think it is brave of a council to actually put it out there that we had lessons to learn and there's still more to learn, because we could stand up there and go, here, we're shiny and sparkly and we do all the right things, but having the humility to actually acknowledge that there was learning there and we're still working on that is something that I think that we should be really proud of. So I really like having that in the report as well, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Mine's more of a reflection again as well. So as we approach, or this is the end of the 21-2026 corporate plan, I just really actually wanted to thank the councillors who were a part of that. We tend to forget very quickly that it was in a time of COVID-19 and a lot of uncertainty. So we've come a long way from that, and I suppose I also reflect on, I've only been part of that plan for a few years, and it is, and I hope it demonstrates to community that it's a succession plan. Like we have a responsibility of honouring the people before us, but taking those learnings and creating better, or imagining better, and how we achieve those things going forward. So I just really wanted to point out those two things as we do move forward. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Cameron?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. It was a good read, thank you very much. And yeah, I was a part of that little group. Yes. Started in COVID-19, very, very different start to council, I can assure you. What I got out of your report was basically, to me, our journey of transition to asset management has been achieved. And with that, we've now got a whole heap of data which is high quality that can be used with our asset management program. To me, very, very simple, but that's the biggest thing. You know, we got, because I can remember when I first started the council in 2020, that's what we were talking about, was transition. You were thinking, when will we transition? And happy to say, I think now we have. Thank you for all your work, it's great.
Excellent. Any further questions, councillors? Moved by Councillor Churchill, seconded by Councillor Muscat, that the officer's recommendation be adopted. All in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, Kim. We'll move to G4.2, which is infrastructure charges rebate, DA 60-2022, Tourist Park 106, Bishops Road, Yalila. I'll hand over to the General Manager of Customer Experience, Kimberly Wilson, and welcome Helen Robinson to the table.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good morning, councillors. You'd think I'd learn by now. This report seeks Council's consideration of a request for the applicant for a 50% rebate of adopted infrastructure charges associated with the approved tourist park development at 106 Bishops Road, Yalila. Hopefully I said all that correct. The development was approved in February 2025 and has since progressed through compliance assessment with all approval conditions satisfied, subject to payment of the infrastructure charges. The applicant has now applied under Council's Infrastructure Charges Rebate Scheme policy, seeking a rebate of $9,525. Officers have assessed the application against the requirements of the policy, and while the application meets a number of eligible criteria, the subject site is located outside the priority infrastructure area, which is a mandatory requirement of the policy. As a result, the application does not fully comply with the policy provisions. The report therefore recommends that Council refuse the rebate request. However, as outlined in the report, Council retains the discretion to approve the rebate if it considers there are grounds to do so. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I went through that with a fine-tooth comb trying to find out why you refused it.
Yeah.
And I did all the maths and on all the numbers as well, and then you just answered it's not in the priority infrastructure area. Anyway, thank you. Councillor Holzheimer.
For me, this one's a little bit tricky because I think what actually adds value and makes this place unique is actually the location, which is outside of the priority infrastructure area, because it wouldn't offer what it does if it was inside that area. So I think it's must be hard for you as well, because obviously you're recommending based on a policy and guidelines that we give you. And for me, I'm not sure about the other councillors, but I would be leaning towards option 2, which is approving the rebate as well, because it meets everything except for the priority infrastructure area, and that's actually what makes it so unique and add value to that community. A question though is, and I know because we've had such a slim budget this year, how do we actually, where does this money sit? And where does it come from? Because it comes from somewhere, because it's paying for people's wages.
Yeah, it
And the
comes
work
from
that
the
goes to
economic
it.
development budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And there
Oh,
is.
yeah. Town planning stealing from economic development, I see. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for now, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I would be interested to hear the other councillors' comments and perspectives, but option 2 is really strong for me and where I would be leaning as well.
I've got a few lining up, but I got Councillor Wagner, McClintock, Cameron, and then I think Councillor Davis maybe was. You already.
Okay, I'll move it. Number 2, option 2, please.
Okay, that's good for the conversation to start. Move Councillor Holzheimer, seconded Councillor Davis. Now back to comments and questions. Councillor Wagner.
I absolutely think this is worth supporting. However, if we go outside what our planning scheme does, and we've got a financial risk, we've got a reputational risk as well. And I'm wondering if these sort of things are things that we want to look at to help boost tourism, why aren't we changing the planning scheme first? We're setting precedents that then can influence us in the future. If this is what we want, then why aren't we changing the planning scheme? Can I ask Kimberly?
Yeah, I can answer that. So, as you know, we do have a major amendment happening at the moment for tourism, and we have had a lot of feedback from the community on making tourism easier, and that's not always going to fit within the priority infrastructure area. So at the same time, the team are actually reviewing what other ways exist out there where councils can encourage and incentivise and promote development of this nature in their region, and what could we be doing more of. That is actually a report that's coming to you in August.
Can I just ask though, in the investigations we've done, because there's obviously been some, we're getting feedback already, are we looking at that priority infrastructure area expanding in that area?
No. So the priority infrastructure area is a very important infrastructure piece. So it's about ensuring that the infrastructure can support the growth that we're intending to do. When we're talking about use types like small-scale tourism, it's about getting the balance right. What is the level of impact on our infrastructure for those types of things? So by expanding the priority infrastructure area, that would actually be very expensive and come at a lot of risk to council. So the work that we do in, for example, the local government infrastructure plan reviews actually considers where are our growth areas versus what we're talking about with the planning scheme review, what use types are okay outside of that. And I think that's the key piece. It's not so much about expanding the priority infrastructure area. It's more about what use types are suitable outside of that and how can we incentivise those. And that's where we're doing the work with the planning scheme review around those pieces.
So this would become then obviously a policy review?
Yes.
Potentially, yeah.
Because these people have got all their own infrastructure on site, of
Yes.
which you would be considering that in your application
Correct.
anyway.
Yeah.
So it's come to us because it's not in there currently.
Yes.
But I think it's fair to say that because it's contained within that, it's probably something that fits outside what others might see apply for. The biggest risk I see is that if we start doing things outside policy, then we get ourselves all caught up and it's unfair to others. But given that they do have it on there, and I hope that we are looking at having this in our policy, I'm quite happy to support. Thank you.
Councillor McClintock?
Yeah, I was trying to read through the policy, the infrastructure charges rebate scheme policy, and I was just noted on your list in the actual report on the agenda where it complies with the 50% net charge. And I was trying to figure out. I'll probably have several questions, but one is the rebate scheme is overdue for renewal. I know we're working through our policies. Is that one coming soon?
August.
In August, beautiful. I missed that. I'm just a little bit confused as to who doesn't comply with the 50% because it seems like it's a pretty free-for-all that everyone can get the 50%. As long as they've kind of met a few basic criteria that they're doing the right thing, everyone falls into that category. So our infrastructure charges are significantly reimbursed by the ratepayers. And what we're then implementing is an even bigger reimbursement from the ratepayers through the process. So I'm a little bit, I don't understand how when we're talking about a decision on a rebate, how the list here says that it complies with the rebate, but then the report said that it doesn't comply. So the PIA stuff I do get, but within the actual rebate part of that policy, it meets all of those criteria. So
If it met that criteria, we could deal with it under delegated authority. It wouldn't necessarily come to council. So under that 50% provision, if all criteria are met, it would get approved at delegated level. But only for specific use types. It doesn't cover every use type.
yeah, right.
So the policy itself sets a target, if you like. When it was originally put in place, it was around retirement living and a few different things. So it's had a few tweaks over the years, but I think our position certainly in relation to tourism has changed a little, and we've been having more of most of these requests that end up in the boardroom are around that tourism element.
Yeah.
So that's where we're really looking at that as part of the planning scheme amendment and in tweaking the policy as well.
And that's where I guess my head was kind of a little bit lost in that we're getting quite a lot of these coming through, and then if all of them are meeting that same criteria, why do we bother having the 50% and not just charge the right amount at the start place, or have it set at a number that we actually want to achieve
and
rather
all
than...
that is being reviewed.
Yeah,
We're reviewing
beautiful.
all of that to consider the best way forward, because we did a significant amount of engagement with the community, and tourism was absolutely something that's really important to the community. So, and I know the message from the boardroom's been clear that we want to be able to support that, but obviously not step outside our policies, so we are reviewing those.
No, beautiful. And I do understand there's a delicate balance there too between empowering these things that make our community livable and making sure that we've got spaces that people want to be a part of, that community can enjoy, and we bring in visitors, all those sorts of things, but making sure that that's balanced delicately with that cost to the rest of the ratepayer base at the expense of that. So thank you. Appreciate that.
We've got a few councillors, Councillor Cameron, Churchill, then Councillor Wagner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, thank you for your report. Spot on as usual, and the policy is what the policy is, totally understand that. I looked at it in a very simplistic way in that, okay, there's a rebate there to save the small business $9,525. To council, that is pretty much nothing, but to small business, it's a lot. So, and if we say we are a council that supports small business, I think we should consider option 2, and I would thoroughly support that. But not saying that you've done the wrong thing, guys. As always, you're spot on with policy. The only way that can change that is this table, and that's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Matt. I'm happy to support waiving the request for infrastructure charges. I want to make a comment and then a question appropriately is that my comment is that we've actually set a precedence previously by waiving infrastructure charges for proponents or projects that are outside of that priority infrastructure area. And I'll go one step further in my comment is that, and those that have developed have been award-winning. And that's the challenge that we face. But I'd like to lead to a question where the role of our regional tourism organisation, GAPDL, I'd like to know from the officer's perspective what role they play in that, because I took the time to have a look at our regional destination management plan, and there's no reference to priority infrastructure area when it comes to the role of our regional tourism organisation, GAPDL, proactively and professionally encouraging ecotourism development in all parts of our region. And for today, for the purpose of the exercise, Yalila, which is what we're talking about, is a significant area where ecotourism is becoming a growing product. So I think trying to avoid that level of conflict between our regional tourism organisation, who are encouraging small businesses to develop in these parts of our region, and then for council putting in a restraint by saying we encourage economic development, but our planning scheme and our priority infrastructure area doesn't allow you to fit.
Yeah.
So you might find another place or another region. So I'd like to know just where that fits within your deliberations and or your decisions, but I'm happy to support waiving the infrastructure fee.
GAPDL, as you know, I've been a primary partner in the engagement for the amendments to the planning scheme. They played a pivotal role in the tourism amendment and what that will look like, and engagement continues with them. And we are acutely aware of this potential butting up of against each other because of the conflicts in policies, which is why all the additional research is happening to decide that will be presented to the boardroom to try and remove those conflicts and ensure that our key business partners like GAPDL are completely involved in what that will look like moving forward. From an infrastructure perspective, it's quite different. They're not considering that necessarily when they're considering their ecotourism business. Because as we've pointed out today, mostly they keep everything on site. They're self-sufficient, so it's not something that's front of mind. But saying that is important, we do need to make sure that everybody understands what it means. So we are working through what that looks like and how we communicate that better with those organisations.
Thank you. Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, when you're looking at these, because everything is contained within, are you looking at things like impact on, road access, the water table there, and the impact on, flooding and all that? So when they're putting that application in, I'm assuming that you're looking at all those neighbour visibility and...
I'll let the planner speak to that one.
Yeah, all of the requirements of the planning scheme are applicable. I guess what we're trying to do is look at the level of assessment, how much detail these applicants are required to provide to us to enable us to issue an approval, or in some cases, what can they do without actually making an application? If you meet these criteria, away you go. So some of the tourism planning scheme amendments are really about making it easier for those businesses to operate, with us doing the work in the background for the framework of, if you meet this criteria, then it's a much easier pathway for you. So we've sort of reversed that a little to try and actually have the ability to attract tourism to particular areas. So the applications that do come in do have to go through the assessment process, and those things will be considered. So what we're doing, for example, if it was less than 10 vehicles a day as an example for a particular use, then that would be an accepted outcome, an accepted use, and you wouldn't need to do a traffic study, for example. So that's the work that we're doing in trying to determine what level of scale is acceptable without requiring a full-blown application to council.
It's a really interesting one because I know that there's some other applications currently down there for different things that are tourism-based as well. And I had spoken to some residents about, you know, whether some are for and not, because obviously they've bought their little acreage out in the middle of that area, and they're not, I suppose, really wanting to have people nearby. And stuff, so you do consider that as well.
Yeah,
I mean, we want to
scale
see
is definitely,
development.
it's really about scale. And obviously, it's about the impacts, because the bigger the scale, the bigger the impact. So it's really about finding the right fit for scale, and then anything over and above that would have to go through the application process.
Because I find it interesting because people buy in that land and it's zoned a certain amount, and they think, oh, you know, we're not going to have these things, and we have. And yeah, so I take my hat off to you for, that's a hard balance. So well done anyway. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. I think, lots of the comments are very valid. I mean, again, we know this isn't the first time we find ourselves in this situation. The reason why I will support the option 2 is, first I want to ask you a couple of questions, but if you can give me a bit more commentary around the actual real impact. So obviously we charge infrastructure charges to mitigate the impact that these developments have. So they're not, these impacts aren't going to disappear. So ratepayers are going to be paying for certain type of infrastructure or whatever it is that the impact this development carries, the impact that this development carries. So it is nice to just say, oh yeah, well, it's only like $9,000 or whatever, but that is not, and I see that, and I take that into consideration, obviously, and the support of small businesses, but the conversation doesn't disappear. This is real impacts, charges that other people are paying, and they're here for a reason. So can you do a bit more? Well, I'm reading the letter that they sent, and the justification, it's around the low impact. What is your take in that allegation?
Yeah, it's quite difficult to explain infrastructure charges because they fall out of the local government infrastructure plan. So we have a plan that allows for our growth, and then within that we have a huge amount of trunk infrastructure, as you can imagine, and then we have a cost to deliver that trunk infrastructure. Then it falls out of that is a schedule and a calculation effectively that says for these different use types, and it could be based on bedroom, based on square meterage and those types of things, it gets averaged out to determine what that cost might look like. And that's very, very hard to stand on the other side of the counter and explain that to someone, but that is how the calculation gets reached. In cases like this, it's really about considering them on a case-by-case basis, and that's what I think the tourism amendment will do quite well, in that we know that a lot of these are outside of the priority infrastructure area, we know that, and because of the experience we've had of these continuous requests coming in, it's something that we're able to do through a planning scheme amendment for the use type, probably better than trying to recalibrate the overall infrastructure calculations. That is,
or through a policy.
Yeah, there is a different. There is the local government infrastructure plan does have a review process of its own, and that will come to you at some time. So those figures and that calculation is more of an engineering consideration in the infrastructure plan itself, and that fits into the overall planning scheme. So what we're doing is trying to understand the use types and the things that the information that people are giving to us about what's making it difficult for them, and trying to come up with a policy that will help yourselves and us be able to deliver that for those customers.
Yeah, well, because I guess I've been part of reviewing this policy a number of times, and it is really difficult to come to, I mean, what is that we want to incentivise, and then again we put a policy, but then we here again trying to address something outside of the policy, and then people will naturally say, why don't you change the policy? But at the same time, the priority infrastructure area does have its merits. We can't just allow anyone to just go and do any development anywhere that then will require all this infrastructure that then they're not paying for. And that the rest of the ratepayers will have to pay for. So it will be great to see some of these. And I guess to clarify also, there's a number of new developments that happen because things just change in the industry and in the sector. So we weren't seeing these
No.
type of things before outside the priority infrastructure area. Now
Correct.
we are. It's like, you know, your Airbnbs or your Ubers, the same sort of situation when we have all the wiki camps and all that sort of
Yes.
stuff, or whatever they're called. So sometimes our policies and our plans need to be changed after these things happen. So we're always in this constant state of change. Now, so going back to the impact of this particular, what do you, is this low impact justification something that we agree with?
I think the fact that it's low impact, yes, we agree that it's
Okay.
low impact. But does that mean that there is not a cost to infrastructure? No.
Okay. Yeah, okay, fine. Now, it's just obviously this isn't, you just given us there's not that much commentary as to what we believe, it's just about the policy.
Yep.
So the only thing I'm reading is what they sent, so that's why I'm asking you.
Yep.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to just check, and that's probably not for a planning discussion, but this is, we have given a number of reimbursements or outside of the policy, and this is, I don't think it's that many anyway, but it is an important piece of information that I believe we should be, I guess being recognised for. Our ratepayers are supporting the tourism space in our region by a number of things, from grants to other sponsorships, et cetera, and also by infrastructure charges for certain developments. So a lot of the times we hear negative narratives around council not supporting businesses or not supporting certain sectors. But this is the perfect example to tell somebody that we are. I'm not saying that then we need to have everybody come up to us and say, no, we don't want to pay infrastructure charges, because that's not what I'm after, and all ratepayers will be after, but we need to make sure that this is communicated in some way, so because this is the way in which we are supporting these industries. So I think that's about all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you. And I'm not feeling very well today, so my head's a bit swimmy. So if what I say doesn't make sense, please forgive me. I've listened to everyone, and for Councillor Churchill, I just wanted to say, sitting on GAPDL as council appointed, part of the destination management plan, the ecotourism is high on the agenda, because that's where tourism is going. It is a big thing, it's moving, and everyone wants to be nature-based these days. And I know with our destination management plan, the CEO, Dee, is working closely with council, and part of that is the infrastructure with council, so we are working through that. Dee's working very hard on that. So I just wanted to say, I'm happy to support Councillor Holzheimer's moving the motion for option 2, because I think these type of tourism things we really need to move forward with, and it's great that we're going to be reviewing our policy, because I think we really need to have some changes there. So thank you.
Councillor Churchill and then Councillor Patrick.
Thank you for that, Councillor Davis. I'm well aware. That's the changing environment of what's happening in not only tourism but in business development as well, is trying to be innovative. But I'm also very mindful that this development approval was granted nearly 18 months ago, and they've met all the conditions of their compliance requirements, and this is just the last little, not necessarily stumbling block, but I think what you're raising, Councillor Davis, is that the partnership that we have with our regional tourism organisation and what's going on in the world with the Queensland Tourism Industry Council, Tourism Events Queensland, and the list goes on, that needs to be put into the boiling pot when we're talking about the new planning scheme and/or priority infrastructure area. And when we talk about impact, impact is not a negative word. It can be, it can have a negative connotation, but there can be a positive impact that can come as a result of our support for these types of developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Glenn, you just stole my words. No, that's okay. I'm for option 2 because this is about impact and helping small businesses, but also ensuring tourism is being assisted as well. So I thought I would just say that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Happy to support option 2 as well. Can I just bring up on the screen, is it possible to do a split screen of 2 different pages? Okay. That's right. Well, just, the numbers add up, but they just differ. I'm just wondering, can you explain to me exactly what's there? How many residents, short-term caravan sites?
Yeah.
Because the numbers, okay, I'll tell you what, page 9 of 24 are different to page 1 of 18 on the attachment, but they have the same end result in the figures.
These numbers.
And I've gone through the numbers, but as I said, I'm happy to support it, and the numbers end up the same, but just
of
how
the
you got the
credit?
calculation at the end. Maybe we'll go through it at the end of the council meeting. Which one's that page there? That's page 9. That's where it says 17,000, is it?
Is that the credit?
No, just the calculations. The calculation breakdown is.
Yeah, these ones.
Yeah.
It's different to the recommendation that says charge areas 18.
Credit is
17 is 26.
It still ends up with the same numbers, but just the sites and the cabins and the 1-bedroom and the 2-bedroom and the numbers. Just, I've gone through it backwards and forwards, but
we can have a
I
look.
think you end up
We
with
can check that for you.
you end up with the same number, so
Yeah.
it's not a problem. But
Yeah, okay.
I can't work
We'll
out
double check
how
that.
many caravan parks sites are there, how many cabins are there,
Yep.
how many 2-bedrooms are there.
Yep.
Not
we
that
can
it
check
makes a
that.
big difference because it's still low impact. Maybe you can explain that to me later.
Yep.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Holzheimer, seconded by Councillor Davis, that option 2 is the council recommendation. Is there a requirement to say why? they're
Reasons for the decision, yes.
Going? Thank you. Councillor Holzheimer, your reasons for why going against the
I've
officer's
been working
recommendation?
on this, thank you, Tanya, with the support of my peers. So I'm sure you'll make magic happen with how the words all come together. So for me, it was in lieu of the review that we're undertaking for the tourist amendments that I think is yet to come. So this is likely to be something that we consider in that change. And also a big part of what Councillor Cameron said in regards to that for council this is a smaller amount of money, but for small business this is a significant investment, especially because this demonstrates our alignment and investment in our small business friendly charter. Is that good enough?
That'd
Yeah?
be fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, it was like, I was like, and I think the other part that I'd really
Can
like
I-
to add is that
Hang on. Sorry, the
if,
councillor-
and that's separate to what, to supporting the variation, was something Councillor Churchill mentioned. The development is over 18 months. You know, and they've worked really well alongside us. How lovely would it be if more development applications actually occurred in such a timely manner, so that the investment and the reward within community was felt a lot prompter as well. So, thanks.
Councillor Wagner?
Yeah, my only one was, I wouldn't include in there respectfully that it's a small amount because I still think it is an amount and ratepayers, it's still money. I absolutely love the last bit and I think it could be really shortened where it's the small business aspect. I thought that was really sharp.
Happy to polish that way, Councillor Wagner.
Okay.
Okay. For the governance, I think we need the wording on the screen.
Just the business one, I thought that really captured it in a nutshell. Yeah. It was well worded.
It's just we decided because we consider it.
But it comes part of the motion, that's the only thing.
Does it need to become part of the motion? Because if it's highlighted in the minutes, I think that supports the motion. It supports the argument, even though we're not having an argument. It supports the pitch in relation to the motion rather than putting it in the motion.
I think what's written on the screen is covered up from what is appropriate to be put in the minutes.
We need to be careful on focus on the second.
That's right.
Everybody will say the same thing.
I wouldn't say the small amount, anyway.
Oh, yeah,
I just
Sorry.
say that.
If we could
yeah,
remove
it
the small
demonstrates
amount.
alignment investment with our small business charter.
Yeah, I think it's important that it gets it
yeah.
right.
You could even, yeah. Even to preempt a policy review, I would probably avoid. I would, even if that's the way we're heading, I think, yeah. I'd probably keep it pretty straightforward.
I'm happy for you both to agree with councillor Wagner. However, the mover of the motion is councillor Holzheimer, and she needs to be happy with the reasons why she's moved the motion.
Policy review.
Absolutely.
Can we remove which is likely to incorporate this category? Just that part? Because we haven't made that decision yet.
Thank you. Policy under
Taking the tourist.
policy review to be undertaken for tourist amendments, demonstrates alignment and investment with our small business charter. Are you happy with that, councillor Holzheimer?
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Is everybody else happy
Less
with that
is
now?
more.
Lisa?
Sorry, I don't want to be pedantic, but it's more the planning scheme review rather than the policy review. Oh, no, they're linked, aren't they? No, that's fine. Don't worry.
Okay.
Would you like me to add planning scheme?
Councillor Holzheimer?
Which one does it actually sit under? Which is likely,
This is the
so
policy.
both? Okay, if it sits under both, we'll include both.
Planning.
It can be a combination of either or either.
Yeah,
We just don't know.
just let it be.
Yep, okay,
Fine, doesn't hurt.
beautiful, thank you.
You've taken out the other words. I'll see. You happy with that? Councillor Cameron?
Just to put some perspective on this, this impact on ratepayers is 2.88 cents per ratepayer.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yes, thank you. Any further comments or discussion, councillors?
We could take a whole of region approach to what we do with renewable energies and just put them anywhere.
We don't just put them anywhere.
Well, the intent of it really is that's the priority infrastructure areas to determining where it fits and where it doesn't fit.
Wow.
Saying then that then you don't want to approve the development or the rebate then?
I said right from the
Yeah.
beginning, I'm totally supportive of waiving the fee in identifying this particular area for ecotourism, but it doesn't necessarily mean it fits anywhere.
Okay.
Mr Mayor, can
Yes.
I call a point of order?
Yeah, thank you. We'll put the motion, thank you. Councillor Patrick, it's moved by Councillor Holzheimer, seconded by Councillor Davis. Any further discussion relevant to the debate right now? Put the motion, all in favour? Motion's carried. Phew. We did. Yeah, we'll move to G 4.3, which is 2026 Annual Specialised Services, and hand over to the Manager of Governance and Risk, Tanya Wally.
Good morning, councillors. Joining us this morning is Council's Acting Manager of Contracts and Procurement, Amy Layton. This report seeks a resolution from Council appointing a range of suppliers under Section 235B of the Local Government Regulations as specialised suppliers. After consultation across the business, these suppliers are considered specialised suppliers as due to specialised or confidential nature of the services sought. It would be impractical or disadvantageous for council to invite quotes or tenders for the goods or services for the 2026 financial year. Where a supplier is considered to be a specialised supplier, it is not necessary for officers to seek quotes or tenders before entering into a contract for the purchase of the goods or services. Specialised suppliers are an important procurement mechanism that cuts the red tape for both council and suppliers, which is particularly important to council given the supply chain disruptions that are still present in today's market. The use of specialised suppliers within council is governed by both the procurement policy and the procurement corporate standard to ensure consistency and appropriate risk management. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, questions to Tanya or Amy? Councillor Wagner. Oh, okay, thank you. Move Councillor Wagner, seconded Councillor Holzheimer. Any further questions? This is a lot easier than the last one. All in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you. We'll move to the next one that's very similar, G4.4, which is 26-27 annual sole suppliers. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Like the specialised suppliers resolved in the previous report, sole suppliers are another mechanism whereby council can reduce the red tape and, as a result, the time and effort required of both officers and our suppliers. These two suppliers are recommended to council for consideration as sole suppliers, as due to the nature of the goods and services, there are no other suppliers reasonably available to provide the specific good or service to council.
Thank you. Questions to Tanya or Amy, please? Councillor McClintock.
Happy to move.
Move a second.
Okay. Move Councillor McClintock, second to Councillor Churchill. Councillors, any questions? Put the motion. All in favour? Motion is carried. G4.5 annual insurance. Sorry?
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, I was getting to that. Thank you. G4.5 annual insurance renewals. I have a conflict of interest or material interest, so I'll leave the room and thank Amy for her. I thought she might have been staying for this one as well. Okay. Over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're up to the, as our Mayor said, annual insurance renewal. Manager, Governance and Risk. Tanya, already here, of course. Sorry, I was looking that way. Please go ahead.
Thank you. This report seeks a resolution from Council in accordance with Council's Register of Financial Delegations to approve expenditure for Council's annual insurance renewals. Council maintains insurance policies to help mitigate the risks inherent in operating a local government. As part of the annual insurance renewal process, officers collaborate with our insurer, Local Government Mutual Services, to secure appropriate coverage. The premiums for insurance exceeds the Chief Executive Officer's financial delegation, and council approval is required to authorise the expenditure. We have received the annual renewal notices for our LGM liability policies, which included a 6.77% increase in policy, which isn't too bad given the current market. Our policy contribution includes council's share of a member distribution and a risk rebate. We're yet to receive LGM assets and LGW, which is work cover, contribution notices. However, the resolution provides the necessary financial delegations for the CEO to approve those renewals.
Very good. So, Councillor McClintock?
Yeah, I wish my insurance only went up 6.77. That would be great. I had really interesting conversations with some insurers down in Canberra. I actually just randomly ended up at dinner with some people doing insurance. I was like, ooh, let's have some deep conversations about how this whole industry works. It was really enlightening, actually, is that process. This amount that we get rebated through this process, so this is a mutual where we actually all as councils come together and basically get a better deal. That's the very simplified Simon version of it. Interestingly, speaking with these insurers, is that this is actually the way they're trying to make the domestic market work as well, because it is such a good method. It's actually probably the only sustainable method for insurance into the coming years. So we're ahead of the curve, which I really love. But my question was this amount that we get rebated, how was their surplus last year versus the year before? Did it increase as well, or is it staying static? Is it dropping? What did that do? I was just at curiosity.
Both our the distribution, the member distribution, and our risk rebate are very much in line with what it was last year. There's been a slight adjustment, but it's fairly consistent. And the amount of, so the trustees determine the total amount to be distributed of surplus funds. Yep. And then we get our share based on our size and our premiums.
Yep. That was right. I was just curious whether it was increasing as well at a similar rate to the amount that the insurance was increasing, or what that looked like.
It's been quite consistent.
Yep. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Cameron?
Yes, thanks, Natalia. Yeah, we look at this every year. No one can beat this. It's very much to our advantage to be in this. I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Very good. Do we have a second there? Councillor Patrick, anyone else has any questions? Yeah, Tanya?
Not a question, but if I can just add, we are continuing to see increasing value from this, not just through great premium pricing, but also through the levels of coverage. So we're seeing a number of our covers continue to increase. And I think when I bring back the report on the LGM assets, there's some great things in there for us as well.
Sounds good to me. Any other comments or questions? Councillor McClintock?
I think you raise a really great point, which is that finding the cheapest insurance is one thing. Finding insurance that actually works when you have a problem is a very different thing. And having an insurance organisation that is specifically aiming their intentions at councils and what the risks and the implications of what we need out of this is really, really beneficial. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So we have our officer's recommendation to authorise the CEO to finalise each of the insurance renewals and the local government self-insurance schemes operated by Local Government Mutual Schemes, LGMS. We have a mover and Councillor Cameron and a second and Councillor Patrick. Are we all in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much, and we'll welcome our Mayor back in.
Okey-dokey. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is councillor reports. We don't have any written council reports or any verbal council reports. Okay. No council reports, no urgent business, no notices of motion. We do have a confidential item. In accordance with the Local Government Regulations 2012, section 254J(G), it is proposed to close the meeting and discuss one confidential business item. The motion is that the meeting be closed in accordance with what I've just read to discuss the potential property acquisition, as the report will discuss negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would likely prejudice the interests of the local government. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Seconded, Councillor McClintock. All in favour? Motion's carried. We'll move into confidential. If you could clear the gallery, please. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, officers, and welcome back to those watching online and in the gallery. We have one confidential item which we discussed, which is G 8.1, and I'll now hand over to Councillor Holzheimer, who would like to move a recommendation.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to proceed with the acquisition of Lot 2 on RP 61350, 530, yes. Lot 2 on RP 859452 and Lot 128 on SP 148359 and grant the necessary financial delegation to complete this acquisition. For me, this decision is about more than just purchasing land. It's about securing a strategic community asset that will remain in public ownership for the benefit of our region for many years to come. I appreciate that all the discussions and the careful thought that has gone into this decision from my peers. We discuss making decisions that are balanced and responsible as representatives of our community. And while we may not be clear about the use of this land yet, I believe that we will regret not proceeding with the purchase as future community needs become clearer. Opportunity to acquire well-located community assets do not come along every day. When they do, I believe it is our responsibility to consider just not today's needs, but the needs of our community over the next 20, 30 and even 50 years. By purchasing this property, Council remains in control of an asset that continues to serve our community as those needs evolve. This is about responsible stewardship of community assets rather than seeing a valuable property leave community control. We have the opportunity to secure it for current and for future generations. I also acknowledge that this represents a significant investment of public funds. For that reason, it's important that the acquisition has been carefully considered against its strategic value, its long-term benefit to the community, and Council's broader objectives, which we are working through. Ultimately, I believe this is an investment in the future of our region. It keeps options for those who come after us, ensures this asset remains owned by community. For those reasons, I commend this recommendation to Council.
Thank you. Seconder, please.
Happy to second the motion, Mayor Matt, and ditto with everything that Councillor Holzheimer said. And if I just add an adjunct, and for the community to have a say in its future.
Thank you, councillors. This has been discussed. Would anyone else like to make any other comments before I put the motion? Councillor Wagner.
Yeah, look, the motion's there and we haven't voted on it, but it would be remiss of me not to say that I think this is the golf course land and the history of it. In 2010 it was purchased. At that time Uralla committed to the next 20 years of developing it at the current location for the community. I think members are really happy with the location. I know it hasn't had it's had its fair share of challenges. I think in these negotiations there's confidential discussions had, and I really appreciate my colleagues and the frank discussions that we've had. However, I do believe that this has potential to bring our conduct into question, given that we have had a separate agreement on another plot of land for the same people who are selling this as well, which is Clava Limited as well. I also believe too that this timing, when we've got a tight budget, is probably irresponsible, is the word that I use, when we're trying to scrimp and save to try to reduce our rates or keep them within a reasonable range for our community. To put this sort of burden, I can't talk about the amount, for a sum that is arguably more than what the value of the land would be at its current zoning, and there's some work to be done on it. Absolutely love the golf course. I lived on Sun Valley Road for a long time. Absolutely appreciate it. Appreciate what Uralla has done to the course over that time and saving it when it was in a really poor state, I suppose, back there in 2010. And my family did enjoy golf there for a long time. But I think as a council, I'm very concerned about purchasing a strategic acquisition which may not, which may have agreements in place, which means that it will be there for a long time with us carrying a cost burden. So, you know, when we put this, obviously I won't be supporting this particular acquisition in the current agreement that exists confidentially.
Thank you, councillors. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do agree with some of the comments by Councillor Wagner. I won't be supporting the acquisition of the land. I don't think it's a good use of ratepayers' money at the current valuation as well, as Councillor Wagner said. Yeah, I'd just like a division as well for the vote.
Thank you. Further comments, councillors? No, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried, and I will abstain. Can I have a division, please? Those in favour? Councillor Cameron, Councillor Holzheimer, Councillor Patrick, Councillor Churchill and Councillor McClintock in favour. Those against? Councillor Davis, Councillor Muscat and Councillor Wagner against, and I've abstained, which means my vote will be carried in the negative. The motion is still carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you for your attendance, and I declare the meeting closed at 12 p.m.